space exploration will uncover, but I don't think it'll be exploration just for the sake of exploration.
For the sake of his children's safety, I had to deny their existence.
For the sake of our relationship and of the future, I hope you're right.
Welcome to TalkWord. I'm so glad you're joining us for this explainer. You know, this is where we really get to satisfy our curiosity by diving into the meaning, the origin, and the real-world usage of everyday English words and phrases. We basically take the language you hear all the time, break it down, and help you use it with total confidence. And today? Well, today we're unpacking a phrase that is incredibly common, super useful, but honestly, a little bit mysterious. We're looking at the phrase for the sake of. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder what it means to do something for the sake of it? I mean, you hear it literally everywhere, right? In movies, in boardrooms, just hanging out with friends. People are always saying things like, let's just do it for the sake of peace and quiet. Or, hey, I'm telling you this for your own sake. But if you pause and look at that one word, sake, it's kind of strange, isn't it? We don't really use it all by itself in modern English anymore. So to really master this idiom, we've got to decode what that hidden little word actually means. Okay, let's dive right into this and start by defining the word sake. Right, so here is the absolute key to unlocking the whole shebang. The word sake simply means benefit, purpose, or interest. Fun fact, it actually comes from an Old English word that meant a cause or a dispute, but it's evolved quite a bit over the centuries. Nowadays, whenever you see the word sake in this context, I want you to just mentally replace it with the word benefit or purpose. Think about it. If you do something for someone's sake, you're doing it for their benefit. If you do something for the sake of an idea, you're doing it to support the purpose of that idea. Keeping that root meaning right in the back of your mind is your secret weapon here. Now that we've got the definition down, let's look at how to actually use the idiom.
Now, what's really interesting here is that you have two distinct paths or structures you can take when building a sentence. On one side, we have for the sake of followed by a noun. And on the other side, we have for followed by a possessive pronoun and then the word sake. These are basically the two puzzle pieces you're going to use about 99% of the time in everyday conversation.
So let's break down the exact grammatical math happening here, step by step. Rule number one is absolutely crucial. Regardless of which structure you go with, the phrase is always identifying the motivation or the beneficiary of an action. You're telling the listener exactly why or for whom you're doing something. Okay, rule number two, if you're talking about a specific thing or a group, a noun, right? You have to use the word of, like for the sake of the team or for the sake of clarity. But wait, look at rule number three. This is exactly where people get tripped up. If you use a possessive pronoun, words like my, your, his, her, our, you completely drop the word of. It just becomes for my sake or for your sake. You just snap those components together and boom, you sound completely natural. All right, let's see what this looks like in practice with some real-world everyday examples. Picture a busy workplace scenario. You know the drill. You're in a meeting, tensions are running a little high, and you have a really strong opinion. But you realize that arguing is just going to delay the whole project, so you decide to give in. Later on, you might explain it to a colleague by saying, I compromised for the sake of the team. And this brilliantly illustrates that noun structure we just talked about. You did the action, compromising, for the benefit of the noun, which is the team. You used of right before the noun. It's smooth, it's highly professional, and it perfectly conveys your motivation. Okay, now let's flip it and look at a much more personal, emotional scenario. Imagine a loved one is heading out on a long, maybe slightly dangerous road trip in a bad storm. You look at them and say, please be careful for my sake. Notice the structure there? We use the possessive pronoun my, so we totally dropped the word of. But beyond the grammar, feel the emotional weight of that sentence. You aren't just telling them to be careful for their own safety. You're telling them that their safety is directly in your interest. You're basically saying, if you get hurt, I'm going to be devastated. So to benefit me, please drive safely. It's just a beautifully intimate way to express how much you care about someone's well-being. If you enjoyed this deep dive, you absolutely have to download the TalkWord app. It's basically your ultimate companion tool. On the app, you can search for and listen to these incredible podcast-style explanations of literally any English word or idiom you can think of. It's kind of like having this exact explainer right in your pocket, ready to go whenever you stumble across a tricky phrase. So go ahead, download the TalkWord app today, keep feeding that curiosity, and I will see you on the next explainer.